Hi, my name's Mark, welcome to GamesWeb, and in this video I'm going to take a look at the One Ring role-playing game from Free League Publishing. Let's check it out. Hi and welcome back to GamesWeb. Right, as I said in the intro, this is going to be a look at the One Ring from Free League Publishing. This is a role-playing game set in the world created by J.R.R. Tolkien for his epic Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit sagas, as well as things like the Silmarillion, which I'll mention about later on. Okay, it's a very big book, as you can tell. It's very thick. It weighs in at about 400 pages, I think. No, it doesn't. And tell a lie, it's 200 and odd pages. It just seems bigger. It's 240 pages. So, I'll just read quickly the blurb on the back. 3 rings for the elven kings under the sky, 7 for the dwarf lords in the halls of stone, 9 for mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne, in the land of Mordor where shadows lie, 1 ring to lure them all, 1 ring to find them, 1 ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them, in the land of Mordor where shadows lie. And the blurb says, enter the world of Middle-earth, which, with their own ring, are the official tabletop role-playing game based on the works of J.R.R. Tolkien. Designed specifically to invoke the atmosphere of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, this game contains rules for creating heroes and sending them off on adventures in a land threatened by the growing shadow. This beautifully illustrated full-colour hardcover manual presents Middle-earth as it was 20 years after Bilbo Baggins' remarkable disappearance and unexpected return. The great events narrated in The Lord of the Rings are still 50 years away, leaving plenty of room to narrate stories worthy of an epic. Now in its second edition, the One Ring comes with an updated and revised rules, a new visual style, and focus on the land of Eredor, the lone lands west of the Misty Mountains. Among these key features are rules for travelling across the land, journey, facing frightening foes, combat, and meeting personalities of Middle-earth, council. Thorough advice for lawmasters on how to bring the Middle-earth to life, including rules for magical treasures, the Shadow, the Eye of Mordor. In-depth information on 6 Patreons. Individuals sponsoring the adventures of the player heroes, including Bilbo Baggins and Gandalf the Grey. A bestiary containing a spread of adversaries from lowly orc soldiers to highway robbers and monstrous cave trolls and barrow wights. Rules to create your very own nameless things, unknowable beings from dark corners of the world. A complete landmark adventure at the Star of Mist, with extra support for new lawmasters in the form of tutorial advice throughout. Okay, so as it mentions very briefly, this is the second edition of the One Ring. It's a game that I played a long time ago. I've not played it for a good while, but there are plenty of role-playing games that have been based around Tolkien's work over the years. One of the most popular ones that was based and inspired by Tolkien, of course, is Dungeons and Dragons, which is coming into its 50th birthday very shortly. It's 50th birthday in a couple of years' time. So role-playing's been around for a long while, and it's Tolkien that inspired it all, as well as the works of H.P. Lovecraft and Robert E. Howard. They were like some of the guiding principles, but mainly it was the principal character behind Lord of the Rings was Tolkien. Behind Dungeons and Dragons, sorry. Okay, so let's have a look what we get. Okay, so we have our map of Eredor, all beautifully illustrated. Now, it says full colour, but the book itself is more of a sepia tone, with lots of illustrations throughout, rather than full colour plates. Okay, and so we have, let's see if we can find anywhere. So it's on the west of the Misty Mountains, so the Misty Mountains are here. And all of our protagonists are around this area here. So there's the Shire, and then obviously we've got going off to Minas Tirith and other places in Lord of the Rings, like Mordor and Rohan and what have you. Okay, so we have a cast, and then we have our breakdown of the chapters. So we've got a prologue, which gives us all our details on the universe itself. We have action resolution, Adventurers, Characteristics, Valor and Wisdom, Venture Phase, Fellowship Phase, the Lore Master, who is the Games Master in this world, the World, and Appendix. And here's our first of our full colour spreads for the from the art department for your league. As I said, the game itself is predominantly in this grey and sepia colour with really fine illustrations in it. These plates only tend to appear at the beginning of chapters. Awesome look at some hobbits there walking under a very big tree. Prologue. The enemy still lacks one thing to give him strength and knowledge, to beat down all resistance, break the last defences, and cover all the lands in second darkness. He lacks the one ring. So, as I read in the prologue of the book, on the back, we have the one ring, which, if Sauron gets that, he can unleash the darkness on Middle-earth and rule supreme and totally destroy all the light. Which is the whole point of the Lord of the Rings. Not to just throw it in a big volcano. Okay, so we have our introduction by Gandalf the Grey. Now, it's Gandalf the Grey because he hasn't become Gandalf the White yet, because this is set, obviously, 50 years before the events of the Fellowship of the Ring. This is mastering the one ring to rule them all. Okay, so we have our introduction here to the Lord of the Rings and what has gone on before. So the game is set currently in 2965, which is, I think it's 3003 or something like that. I can't remember if they count forwards or backwards for the actual Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring, the first book of the actual trilogy. Okay, so the One Ring, second edition, the year 2011 saw the release of the One Ring adventure game from Over the Edge, Adventures Over the Edge of the Wild. The award-winning game was hailed as one of the best attempts at bringing Middle-earth to the gaming table to date, thanks to its thematic and painstakingly attention to detail. For 10 years, players of the game have travelled far and wide across Middle-earth, adventuring for multiple decades at a time of game time. This new edition of the One Ring brings players further into the twilight of the Third Age, and it does so with a set of updated and streamlined rules developed over the years of players' feedback and design development, and an entirely new graphic presentation. Okie dokie. Right, so let's press on. So, adventuring in the Third Age, how we play the game. We have a timeline. Yes, the timeline does go forward, not backwards. So we start off in 2941, which is the events of the Hobbit. So we've got Gandalf and Thorin Oakenshield and the Dwarves and Bilbo Baggins go off, and they have their adventure and meet Smaug, the dragon. And then we go all the way on up to our present day, which is 2065. Rumours of turmoil and strife in the Wilderland become more and more common in the decade. Traffic intensifies over the High Pass as more and more travellers from the east cross into the Westlands, bringing news of threats and the fragile peace between men, elves and dwarves. War is a-brewing and something nasty is coming. Okay, so you have your player heroes. They're the people that you actually play as, the player characters. Your lore master is your games master, and that's the person who sets the scene and describes everything. If you're new to role-playing, I've got a video coming up that explains how to get into role-playing, the best way to get the most out of it. I've been doing this since I was 11 years old, so I know a thing or two, and I've worked for quite a few games companies in the past, working on role-playing products. And over the years, I've picked up quite a lot of tips that make it easier. Because a lot of people get put off when they see games that are full of charts and things. So anything that makes it easier for somebody else, I think is fantastic. Great illustration of Gandalf there going into a hobbit house, which is most likely Bilbo's. And then we've got the structure of the game, right? So the game comes together with different phases. We have the adventure phase, which is the session that you're playing as a series of scenes. You connect them together as a wider narrative, much like a play. And each of those scenes allows you to advance your narratives forward and the story forward. So you might meet in a pub and meet your patron, and then he says, can you go and get me this artifact from this room keep. And then we'll go and progress on each scene's broken down. And then we have the fellowship phase, which is a phrase that comes after the adventure phase. So it reads that when the adventuring phase is concluded, the fellowship phase starts with the players narrating what their characters do when they finally return from their adventuring to rest for a while. It's now the Lore Master's turn to act reactively by listening to the players' propositions and wishes and making sure that the rules are correctly applied. During the fellowship phase, the players present to the Lore Master ideas and intentions, for example, choosing where they want to rest and deciding what they will do when they are there. During the fellowship phase, players can choose one or more undertakings to let them perform downtime activities directly affecting gameplay. So basically, it's saying that you narrate the game with the players and the Lore Master together. You build the structure up, and obviously with the players influencing their own characters, it influences the way that the Lore Master will direct the combat and direct the action of the game and the narrative of the game. So you tell the story together, which is the perfect way to roleplay. That's one of the best ways of roleplaying, and I try to do this in every role-playing session that I do. Then of course we tie it all together and bring the phases together and get what we hope is going to be a coherent story, which will be a good adventure. Some young hobbits there sitting having some probably second breakfast with some cave trolls. That doesn't look like it's going to be quite good. Okay, so we have our basic mechanics of the One Ring. Right, so the One Ring uses just one second. If I can get to right. Okay, the One Ring uses 12-sided dice and 6-sided dice as its dice conventions. Your 6-sided dice are called success dice, and your 12-sided dice become with special icons, or you can use a dice, and there's rules for just using your regular D12, are called your feat dice. These are also available separately from Free League Publishing, and if you buy the starter set of the One Ring, which I'll be reviewing separately, you get a set of both of them in the starter set. So you get a brief breakdown of when to roll your dice and when to make checks and stuff, rather than it leaving it to every single decision you make. Do I open this door? Roll the dice. Do I have something to eat? Roll the dice. You don't. That's not how role-playing should work. A lot of people kind of forget that role-playing should be about exploration and narrative, and as such, it does turn a lot of people off. Role-playing's about the story. It's about building this. Gary Gygax and Dave Anson coined a term a long time ago, back in, I think it was 76 or 77, called Tome, Theatre of the Mind. And Theatre of the Mind is everything that takes place in your game goes on in your head. You don't have a visual representation. You may have miniatures, you may have maps, but all the real action goes on in the player's heads and the games master's head. And this is when we need to roll dice, is when it's necessary. You shouldn't be rolling dice at every second. So it tells you when to roll here, when there's a danger, when you're trying to find something out, or when you're trying to manipulate someone. As I mentioned earlier, the game's broken down into scenes. The Lore Master describes situation and requires what the players need to do for the decisions. Players investigate the situation, and then the Lore Master evaluates the plans of the players and basically decides whether they're going to be successful or not, and if they need to make a dice roll or what have you. Okay, so we've got who rolls, which ability you roll, making the roll, repeating a roll, and how to read the feat dice. Okay. And then we've got degrees of success, which is a bit like some of the other games that Free League do. You've got moderate success to like outlandish success, and a failure can result in something nasty happening to you. You've got dice modifiers, which can be lots of different things. You could have a favour roll. If you have a favour roll, you get a bonus to your dice rolls. If you have an ill-favour roll, which is something that you're not used to doing, say, where is it? It's possible to roll both a favoured and ill-favoured roll for different conflicting reasons. When this happens, the roll is resolved normally. Roll 1 feat dice only. Even if multiple sources would make a favoured roll, only one wound would make it ill-favoured or vice versa. Okay, so we'll get into that a little bit more later on in my written review. We've got bonus success dice, penalty success dice, magical success, and then different conditions. So miserable, weary, wounded. Your character sheet and the dice rolling procedure. Define the player hero is trying to achieve. Select the ability for use and roll. Roll the attribute target number. Take 1 feat dice and this number of success dice equaling to the rating of the chosen ability, or 2 feat dice if the favour is a roll is favoured or ill-favoured. You can spend hope to gain 1 dice or 2 dice if inspired. Make the roll. If the roll is favoured, choose the best result of the feat dice. If it's worse and ill-favoured, you roll 1 on the feat dice. The action is an automatically a success. If you're miserable and you roll the Eye of Sauron, you automatically fail. Otherwise, all numerical dice are added up to get the action result. If you're weary, as in you're tired, you're fatigued, dice are outlined. 1, 2 and 3 are ignored. If total action result is equal or superior to the target number, the action is success. If the result is lower, it's a failure. If the action is a failure, successful, the number of results rolled indicates the degree of success that can be spent to achieve a special success. So like many games from Free League and other games publishers, the better you roll, the better you get. And then we've got a breakdown here, an anatomy of our character sheet. Character sheets are also available for the game from Free League and Adventurers. So we've still got our really beautiful artwork. So there's a human, an elf, a dwarf, excuse me, a human, a elf, a dwarf, and a hobbit. And then we have our heroic cultures. Okay, so now we're getting to the meat of the game itself. So these are basically how we generate our characters and such. So heroic cultures, we've got the characteristics, your attributes, which make up your character. There's only 3 attributes in the One Ring. You have strength, heart, and wits. So a player's strength, someone with a high strength can be tough and fit, and quick and alert, or physically attractive or imposing. Heart measures the ability of an adventurer's capacity for emotion, enormous emotion, empathy, and enthusiasm. Player with a big heart score can be fiery, energetic, and hard to daunt, and activities that benefit from a passionate or dynamic temper can also be influenced by a player's heart score. And finally, a player with a high wit score rating can be clever, intuitive, and ingenious. Any action that calls for an adventurer to be sharp-witted, sensible, or wise benefits from a player's high wit score, so a player hero's wit score. Then you have target numbers. Right, so your target numbers are so the target strength used in all conjunction with strength skills, the heart is used with all heart and valor skills, and of course the wits used in anything that does with wits or wisdom. So valor is basically your bravery, as it sounds. More wonderful artwork, big dragon. Okay, so got the languages and typical names. Now, Tolkien was a linguist. He was actually a professor of linguistics, so the Lord of the Rings is full of lots and lots of strange names, especially the elven ones. And Tolkien invented an entire language just for the elves. So a lot of your names are going to be quite hard to pronounce, and I'm not even going to attempt some of them. So we've got our different races here. So we've got the Bardlings, right? So the Bardlings are humans who come from, I think it's the west. I'm not exactly sure. Sorry, the north. Yeah, the north, and there are noble origins coming from the wilder land. So we've got They differ than normal humans slightly. We've got names for them like Aegir, Arn, Brandulf, Dormar, Ireland, Falred, Finn, Golter, Halfgrim, Sigmar, Varin, and female names like Aldis, Astrid, Bera, Burgess, Dagmar, Runa, Helga, Hela, Thora, Thordis, Forhild. Very Viking, Nordic, Slavic sounding names. And of course there's always the male and female. Then we've got the dwarves, or the folk of Durin. Dwarves are quite commonplace in the worlds of Tolkien. If you watch the Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit movies, that's a typical example of a dwarf. They're very small, very stout, really strong, very opinionated, very pig-headed, but very noble and honourable. And they make amazing friends, but they also make really bad enemies as well. Okay, so dwarves are shorter than men, but their work as miners and shadow smiths endues them with powerful arms and shoulders. Yes, yet they still favour shorter weapons over longer ones. Okay, so you got lots of different dwarven names there, which I'm not going to read because most of those are the same as the Norman. Then we've got the Elves of Lindon. The elves tend to be tall and thin and very beautiful and skillful at everything they do and be artisans. The type of elves that we see commonplace in D&D or in games like Warhammer, where you have the high elves, that's the kind of elves that we're looking at here. There are different branches of the elves throughout Tolkien's work, but the ones that we tend to see mostly is the Elves of Lindon. Then we've got the Hobbits of the Shire. So Bilbo and Frodo, Sam, Pippin and Merry were all hobbits, and they're diminutive people. They're smaller than dwarves. They're about the size of a 6-7-year-old child, but they are fully formed humanoids, and they have ferocious appetites. They eat a lot, and they never wear shoes. Hobbits have got small, hairy feet, very hairy feet, and don't wear shoes. They're quite famous for it, and they like lots and lots of food. And above all, to hobbits, family is extremely important. All the character races have various attributes that benefit that race. The Men of Bree, another humanoid race. These guys are from villages that lie around the area of Bree, and they tend to be merchants and trappers and brave, good fighters. They do get on quite well with the hobbits because they mix with them quite a lot, but they tend to be offstandish with other foreigners. And then we've got the Rangers of the North. So Aragorn or Strider was one of the Rangers of the North in Lord of the Rings. And then callings. So those are the character races. These are the things that you can be. So you could be a captain, a champion, a messenger, a scholar, a treasure hunter. And we have favoured skills and additional distinctive folklore, or a warden. And then your previous experience, which is optional. You don't have to take that, but previous experience gives you stuff to start out with on your skill levels. Your starting gear, so you could start off with a dagger or a mattock or a great axe, depending on what race you are, or a bow or a sling or a shield or a sword, your armour, all that, your travelling gear. And then we get on to starting your company. We've got rewards and virtues, which come important to the game because they help you influence those around you, and they give you access to peculiar abilities of your folk. So these are your traits, like hobbits can go for a long time without food, even though they eat all the time. Okay, Then we get to some lovely more artwork with Gandalf. Looks like he's talking to, I'm not sure, it could be Bilbo, it could be Frodo, but the Inn of Bree was one of the meeting places for idle, talkative and inquisitive amongst the inhabitants, large and small, of the Four Village, and a resort of the rangers and other wanderers. And such travellers, mostly dwarves, are still journeyed on the east road to and from the mountains. And then we've got lots and lots of little side outs here, the little box outs, which give you hints and tips on how to play the game. So how to grade your fellowships. When you get a group of people together, it's called the fellowship instead of a party. So like in D&D it's a party, in Lord of the Rings or the One Ring it's going to be a fellowship. And then experience and how we deal with experience, and then further adventures. Then we get on to our main gist of the game itself. So characteristics, building your character up, your skills, how all the skills go together. So reading the land, persuading somebody to do something, traveling. Traveling is a skill. It is a real skill in real life. If you don't know what you're doing when you're traveling around the world, you can end up in a lot of trouble. It's your ability to read the land and read a situation, as well as know which places are safe to cross. Lots of different things go along with traveling. Then you've got combat proficiencies, distinctive features: bold, cunning, eager, faithful, first spoken, fierce, generous, honourable, inquisitive, keen-eyed, and it goes on. Endurance and hope. So endurance basically is your character's level and threshold of their well-being. The higher endurance you've got, the better you are, and you won't get as tired. Obviously, battle, walking, combat, all that will take effect on you, and it will affect your skills. Hope is your reserve of your spirit and your fortitude, and that can also be used to be spent to add bonus hope die to trigger the effects of certain your cultural virtues. Standards of living from poor up to very rich. War gear, as we mentioned earlier, lots of different things. So you've got armour and shields, all that kind of stuff. So we've got leather armour, mail armour, helm and shields. We don't have mithril armour though, which is the armour that Bilbo wears when Frodo gives it to him. That's magical armour. It may be detailed further on. Then valour and wisdom. So how to use your valour, how to use your wisdom, the rewards of each of them, and then cultural virtues. So virtues of bardings. So dwarf friend, fierce shot, dragon slayer, cram. You know, you've been taught the recipe of cram, a biscuit cake that keeps good indefinitely, made by your foot for long journeys, albeit certainly not entertaining, and in fact mostly a chewing exercise. It is doubtlessly sustaining and very nutritious. Okay, so these are the virtues that you get for your culture. So that's for the bardings. Then we have the dwarven ones, the hobbit ones, the elven ones, the men of the Bree, and of course there are ranger ones as well. And then the adventuring phase. So this is our combat phase. I'm just going to skim through these next few pages. So this is the combat phase. We go through close quarters, range combat, and action and combat resolution. What your characters are going to do. Are your characters actually going to make a conscious effort to actually get involved, or are they going to try and use a sneaky, stealthy approach to keep away from combat if possible? Right, and then how to resolve your attacks, damage, special damage such as magical damage, fire, that kind of things, and how armour and shields can stop damage going through. So council, this is when you talk to other people. It represents the social events of extraordinary importance, gatherings of vital in the success of the company's aims and the goals that can be influenced by how they behave. So it's when you have interactions with other people, especially large groups of people, and this is a council. I mean, not always this is going to happen, but it's quite usual to actually find council at least once in a game session. Then planning your journey, how long your journey is going to be, the maps and stuff. There's lots of maps available for the One Ring, and you get quite a lot in the starter set. The starter set is basically this book but broken down into a more condensed format. So plan your journey and perilous locations and what you're going to meet. So you're going to meet something like this here. So this is a wyvern. It's not a dragon because it's got 2 legs instead of 4, so it's a wyvern. Are you going to meet one of those? If you are, and run like the wind. Right. And we've got here a different type of events and how the Loremaster can describe them. There's a full section on Loremastering coming up. Fellowship phase. So how the fellowship phase works: you set the duration, you choose a destination, perform updates, choose undertakings. So basically, you sit down and you work out what you're going to do next, and you help build the narrative of the game itself up. And then the fellowship phase undertakings, you can heal, gather rumours, meet a patron, ponder stored and figured maps, raise an heir, return to story, strengthen the fellowship, study magical items, write a song. Because for a long time, a lot of the rings seems to be we'll walk 500 paces and then we'll have a song, and then we'll have some breakfast, then we'll walk another 500 paces, then we'll have another song, and then some more breakfast. So, but Tolkien, give him his due. The guy was a really good writer, and it's been a long time since I've read Lord of the Rings, but I think I've read it about 14 times. Okay, and I actually prefer the book over the films. Okay, apart from the animated one. So the Loremaster, this next section is all for your GM. This is all the guts on how to run the game successfully for your Loremaster, and the qualities. You don't really need to know much about Middle Earth. You can get away with just the basics, and it should still play like a Middle Earth role-playing game. You shouldn't be finding yourself, oh my god, I don't know what's happening in Rivendell. Shall I do? Where do I go from here? Shall I go over towards the Misty Mountains, or do I go down towards the Pelennor Fields? I don't know what to do. No, it's just a generic fantasy world, but a world that's been in-depthly described. So you've got lots of maps, and just use the maps and the aids, and you'll find things a lot easier. Coming up with adventures is always tricky if you're new to gaming, and especially if you're new to actually being a games master or a GM or dungeon master or referee, or in this case the Loremaster. My advice is try and take it easy. Don't rush, don't worry. The players will get there on their own time, and if you present them with an opportunity to do something, they will most likely take it with both hands. Don't worry too much about spending hours and hours and hours writing campaigns and adventures, because guaranteed 9 times out of 10 the players are just going to throw it straight out the window within the first 15 minutes of playing. I've got a very, very dear friend who spent years and years and years working on a D&D campaign only for his players to actually screw it up in the first session. Something that he had not thought of. So he's going to remain anonymous. Okay, more artwork. How to deal with injury and combat, characteristics for your characters, so your NPCs, and then the Shadow, which is the antagonists of the game, so all the evil beings in the game. So we have bandits, mercenaries, wights, kelpies, Smeagol or Gollum, then all the things of the Shire itself, not the Shire, the Darklands themselves that are working for Sauron. So we have all their abilities and the distinctive features. So we've got evil men, who can be anybody from brigands, highway robbers, chieftains, ruffians, hostile southerners, because southerners don't like northerners, just much like in real life. Orcs, So we've got Great Orc Chief, Great Orc Bodyguard, and then Goblins, Orc Guards, Orc Chieftain, Orc Soldier. Trolls. Trolls in Tolkien's worlds go from being either things like cave trolls or swamp trolls or forest trolls to huge hulking stone trolls and stuff like that. So you've got a great cave troll and a cave troll slinker, stone trolls, stone troll chief. The undead. Undead can be wraiths, wights. Wights are the spirits of dead kings of the Witch King of Angamar. At least I think, I can't remember. So you got Barrow-wight, then wolves, werewolves, wargs, treasure. There are more creatures, a lot more creatures, because we've not touched on things like snakes or giant spiders or things like that. And then weapons, armour, famous weapons and famous armour. So things like Sting, which is Bilbo's sword, and that's the only one I can remember at the moment. There's that many. But lots and lots of things. Cursed items. One of the biggest cursed items is the One Ring. You don't put it on. And you will not catch the One Ring here because it's not about you trying to actually get the One Ring. It's just the setting. So the Eye of Mordor, which is used by Sauron, and he can scour the land as he looks for the One Ring and directs the hunt towards the players. And then we've got the world here, which is Eridor. So we've got the Shire and all the different areas. So this is really good for you to build up if you've never read Tolkien or what have you. It tells you all about how to get to different places like Bree and the Prancing Pony. And we've actually come onto the page with the Prancing Pony, which is the pub where the hobbits in Lord of the Rings meet Aragorn before they get attacked by the ring wraiths. And then lots of different areas. So the Great East Road, Midwater Marches, lots of things. Greenway, Barrow Downs, Minas Tirith. I think it's Minas Tirith. It looks like Minas Tirith. Weather Hills, Trolls. You can have an argument with them until sunrise, and they turn to stone if you're lucky. Lots of great places, Troll Shows and the Blue Mountains, and then a bit of details of the adventuring in Middle-earth, and that was my iPad just beeping telling me it's 12 o'clock. And then an appendix. And the appendix is quite good because it gives you details of things that work well in a game. So your Patreons. So you got Bale, and we've got Bilbo Baggins. And then we have Cyrodiil the Shipwright, Gandalf the Grey, Gilrian the Fur, who I would imagine is an elf. Yep, she's Aragorn's mother. She's not an elf, she's Aragorn's mother. And then different landmarks. There and back again, structure of the landmarks, Stir of the Mist, and we're getting towards the end now. And then this is our adventure coming up. So the Ruins of the Star, Nameless Things, rumours about the things, more artwork. And then finally at the back we have our character sheet and a full colour map, which you get in the starter set, which I will look at in another video. Okay, so I'm going to stop there because this is like quite a long video, but I wanted to show you how great this book is. And my full written review will be up on Gamers Web around the same time as this video goes live, and will detail everything that I've covered in more depth about the combat, how combat works, how skill resolution works, and all that stuff. But this is just to give you a brief overview. Now, the game is on pre-order at the moment. It's available at the time I'm saying this. This is February the 22nd, and its official release date is March 22nd. So I'm not sure when my embargo is for the review. I will have to double check that. My many thanks again go to Bole from Free League for kindly sending me this review copy. It's greatly appreciated. I really am looking forward to running this. I'm not really a big fantasy player. I like science fiction and I like horror. I don't tend to like fantasy, but I do like Tolkien. And I did read Lord of the Rings to two of my 4 children when they were very young. And my daughter absolutely loved Lord of the Rings. And she was almost called Gladriel at one point. Before she actually became Catriona, she was almost named Gladriel. Okay, so that's my quick look at The One Ring. It's available now, as I say, to pre-order from Free League Publishing and from your friendly local game store. You can buy the PDF of the game right now on drivethrough.com. We'll leave a link down below to where you can purchase it from. And check back soon for my full written review. Thanks for staying with me for so long. Thanks for tuning in. And pick the game up. It's very entertaining. It's well worth looking through. As always, I've been Mark, and no matter where you are in the world, please stay safe, look after yourself, and take care. Happy gaming, and see you soon.